Hello, my real lovelies. Welcome back to the channel, and as always, welcome to my home. Today is going to be a one topic specific video because I don't know if you are aware, you may be from a different country other than the UK, but there has been a big national talking point. We have our elections coming up on July the 4th. So lots of campaigning to look forward to, shall I say. But one of the campaign policies from the incumbent Conservative Party, who are currently in power, is that they would like to reintroduce national service. So a little bit of background. National service was abolished by Act of Parliament in 1960. So the UK has not had conscripted national service since 1960. And I think many people were quite happy and content with the current status quo. There hasn't really been a call for reintroducing national service. However, with everything going on in Europe, with Russia and Ukraine and lots of instability, many other nations in Europe have either reintroduced national service or are thinking about it or have shored up their existing national service strategies and policies. So yeah, this is something that nobody wished for, I think. So there's a lot of ifs and buts when it comes to this, because the Conservative Party might not get back into power. It could be the Labour Party, or there could be other parties as well, but it's most likely to be either the Labour Party or the Conservative Party, or a coalition. So, yeah, it's something that people didn't ask for, but it's now a talking point. And of course, what they are proposing, we'll get to how this is going to affect the royals in a moment, because it could affect George, Charlotte and Louis in the future. So we'll get to that, but I want to do some explaining first. So the proposal at the moment, we don't have a lot of detail. So the sort of bare bones of it are that when youngsters reach the age of 18, rather than going off to university or whatever it might be, they actually go into either national service or volunteering. So national service would be a year in the armed forces. Of course, there are different services to choose from. Or you do, I think the proposal was 1 weekend a month volunteering for a year. So there's sort of less work involved if you go down the volunteering route, because obviously the armed forces are not going to suit everybody. This policy to me causes a few issues. When children typically, youngsters get to 18, that's when they're either thinking about taking a gap year or going straight on to university. Now, many university students are not wealthy and are not rich and do not come from backgrounds of wealth where they can be supported. Most people are not lucky enough to have parents or carers or guardians who can do that for them. So many youngsters that go off to university have loans. They have student loans which sort of mass up into £30,000-40,000 in today's money. So, and they normally have to work weekends or evenings to actually afford to live away from home when they're at university, because things aren't cheap. We've got the gas, the electric, food, rent, all the rest of it. So yeah, to give up, if you are going to university and then you've got to give up a weekend of work to do the volunteering, I'm not quite sure how that's going to work financially. I think that's quite unfair. Or it's going to delay these people going to university for a whole year just so they can do a weekend of volunteering. I think it's not really thought through. It might suit some people. It might suit the people perhaps who leave school and can't find a job. Maybe they need that, maybe it would help with interpersonal skills, having real life experience, that kind of thing. But anyway, I think it's fundamentally flawed and it needs a lot of rethinking. However, the other thought of a way of thinking is that youngsters should feel a connection to the community and service for the country, duty, service, which are all things that the royal family embody. So how does this affect the royal family? Why are we talking about this here now? Because I've already heard rumours of, will Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis undertake national service or volunteering when they reach the age of 18? So let's just assume for one moment that the Conservatives get into power and that this scheme, this proposal does make it into law. Of course, it would have to go through Parliament first, and then the King would have to give his royal assent for it to happen. But they are talking about it coming in perhaps as early as September. So that's if the Conservatives get in. So would it affect George, Charlotte and Louis? There would be call for it to do so. I think, almost like the same type of call that it is to send royal children to state schools rather than private schools. It's not going to happen. And I don't think that, they would be forced into doing national service or volunteering just because they're royal. However, there would be a call for it, because obviously if other youngsters are making that sacrifice, then why wouldn't Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis make the same sacrifice? Remember, in today's world, it's all about optics. So there would perhaps be a call for them to do so. However, I think there's a lot of mock outrage at the moment because people do not realise the facts. And guess what I've got on my notepad in front of me? I've got a load of facts. Yes, I do. Receipts galore. So I've looked back at what Prince William and Prince Harry did when they left Eton and turned 18. I've also looked at Princess Anne as a sort of relative comparable to Princess Charlotte, although we are in very different times these days than when Princess Anne was young. But she's the closest comparable, I suppose, that we have. I'm not including Beatrice and Eugenie because they are not working royals and were not expected to be. And I don't think that's going to change soon, although I kind of hope it would. So I'm going to look back and kind of see what William and Harry did, and then we'll talk about it a bit more. So when Prince William left Eton, he went into the British Army training exercises, and that was in Belize. He then also worked on dairy farms and went to Africa before taking part in Raleigh International Programme, which was in Tortel, southern Chile. So I remember all of this when it happened. I remember there was a news programme when he was in Chile, and you saw him, with everyday people. He really helped, he mucked in, he wasn't treated special or differently. And you could kind of say that was like volunteering. He wasn't being paid to do that. So in his gap year, he didn't just take a year off and bum around and spend money and go partying. He actually, he did army training, military training. He worked on a dairy farm. He got real life experience in Africa and Raleigh International. So he did a lot in his gap year. And then obviously in 2006, he went into the Royal Military Academy, otherwise known as Sandhurst, more commonly. And before that, he did 44 weeks as an officer cadet to get in. So I guess you could say that even without national service and subscription, Prince William did, service and duty and went into the military. Anyway, regardless, let's look at Prince Harry. So he took a gap year and went to Australia, where he worked on a cattle farm as a jackaroo, of all things. Then, of course, he went to Lesotho in Africa, where he worked with orphaned children, and he worked on a documentary, The Forgotten Kingdom. So Harry, again, made the most of his gap year. And then he went into Sandhurst in 2005 and, of course, started his military career. So my point being, that the male royal children who are expected to be working royals do this anyway as part of their life. You know, Prince Andrew did the same, Prince Charles did the same, Prince Edward did the same, although Edward didn't really get on in the Royal Marines. But they all did it, is my point. All of the male royal children who are going to be working royals or are expected to, they do sort of what's being proposed at an even higher level. So this kind of call for, are they going to do it? Should they be? They would do it anyway, is my point. Now, Princess Charlotte is the slight anomaly because we live in a different world now where we have equality and we have fairness. The scheme that's being proposed by the government does include females. Why wouldn't it? We are living in the modern world. But back when Princess Anne was young, that would have been unthinkable. Now, I actually think Princess Anne would have loved it. I think Princess Anne would have thrived in the military if she'd have been given the opportunity to do it. But that's Princess Anne. You know, not everyone is the same. And I kind of get the inkling that Princess Charlotte is going to be quite forward. And I think she does have a little touch of the Princess Anne's about her. So, you know, if this does come in when she gets to 18, she might very well want to do, you know, a gap year and volunteer in the military, or do, you know, like what the other royals have done and go on a gap year and go travelling and do charity work abroad, that kind of thing. So, again, you know, Princess Anne went straight into royal duties at the age of 18. And this is why she's often called one of the hardest working royals. She didn't even have a gap. She left school. I don't think she thought much of education. I don't think she particularly enjoyed it, but she was more practical and more forthright. So she was perfect. She went straight into royal duties and has remained doing so her entire life. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. It's this sort of notion of bringing back national service, but I don't think a one size fits all is going to work. And I certainly don't think it applies necessarily to the royal family. I think it gives good optics if they do take part in it in the future, if it gets in, but they do it anyway. So I kind of think it's a bit of a waste of time making them do it at 18 when they would go on to do it anyway. Of course, I'm talking the male royal children, George and Louis. But Princess Charlotte may wish to sort of take this up as part of her, you know, gap year, if you like. Anyway, this policy is, I think, like I say, it lacks the substance. It needs more on the bones, more meat on the bones, I think. We need it to be a little bit more thick and juicy, don't we, my loves, before we can make a call. But I want to know what you think about this. Do you think George, Charlotte and Louis should, you know, do it at age 18 if it's brought in, or do you think they should be cut a little bit of slack and sort of follow it as they normally would, which actually is more than what's being proposed? Let me know. And I think when they go off on their gap years and they do travelling, and I think it gives them a wealth of experience meeting different people from different backgrounds, from different monetary backgrounds as well, from, you know, and it makes them realise, I think, how lucky they actually are compared to others around the world and how privileged they are. I think that's the one main thing from having royal children go off travelling to different places, is they realise, you know, actually, yes, we are lucky, we are privileged. You know, it's a shame that a certain royal didn't realise how privileged he is. But anyway, that's for another day. Right, let's just run you through the outfit today. So it's a warm day today, so I'm not wearing a jacket, but I am wearing a replica of Queen Elizabeth II's flower basket brooch, which I love for this time of the year. It's gorgeous. Also, the Princess Diana aquamarine ring. The less said about its current owner, the better. I'm wearing Queen Elizabeth's Japanese pearl and diamond choker necklace. I love this necklace. It's an exact replica. And then, of course, I have the Cambridge Lovers Knot tiara on top of my head. So thank you for watching this video. Oh, by the way, I did look at the polls that I've put out on the channel. People like videos typically between 10 and 30 minutes long, so I think this is just about fits in there. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and of course do hit the bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So from me, mwah, to you all, and goodbye.